Excerpts from The Earth Has a Soul by Carl Jung, edited by Meredith Sabini. This is from the introduction. Modern man and archaic man, an evolutionary dialogue. Jung treated modern man with compassion, realizing that modern man was overstrained from his boundless activities. According to Jung, he suffers from the disease of knowing everything. There's nothing he cannot pigeonhole. He is extroverted as hell and shows a remarkable lack of introspection. He thinks that the gods and demons have disappeared from nature and does not notice that they keep him on the run. Hence his restlessness and need for alcohol or tranquilizers. Modern man believes that he can do as he pleases and is perturbed that inexplicable anxieties plague him. True to his rationalistic bias, he has tried all the usual remedies: diets, exercise, studying inspirational literature, and only reluctantly admits that he can't seem to find a way to live a meaningful life. As counterpart to this modern aspect, Jung also identified the archaic component of the psyche, much more significant owing to its greater duration. In his forthright manner, Jung poses the question, are we not carriers of the entire history of mankind? When a man is 50 years old, only one part of his being has existed for half a century. The other half may be millions of years old. Jung first encountered this archaic level of the psyche in his 1909 dream, and did not consider this aspect to be a remnant or vestige of the past, but a living reality that contains the accumulated history of our species. Archaic man is Jung's term for the phylogenetic foundation of our species, which is currently under exploration by evolutionary psychologists. In his 1933 essay, Archaic Man, Jung gives a fair and balanced portrait of how the modern mind and the archaic or natural mind work, noting the advantages and disadvantages of each. He stated unequivocally that nothing shows the archaic mind to be any less rational than the modern. Only the basic presumptions differ. Whereas our modern mind tends to think casually and does not concern itself much with invisible forces, the archaic aspect tends to track non-visible forces at work behind the scenes. For instance, if lightning struck one abode and not another, modern man would probably dismiss it as chance or random event. But archaic man would find this superficial and demand more of an explanation. If we put these two templates together, we can see how the modern and the phylogenetically ancient aspects of the psyche tend to polarize. The current debate regarding food production provides a good illustration. Modern man tends to trust the scientific establishment to watch over such things and to not let anything harmful come into the marketplace. He is not cognizant about pesticides in produce, hormones in meat, or heavy metals in fish, and would not dream of bringing up the subject at a dinner party or restaurant. By contrast, archaic man is terrified of angering the gods, nature's spirits, and knows that prayers and sacrifices must be made to ensure each season's bounty. The question of whether irradiated or genetically modified food is safe to eat would be altogether the wrong question, since such hubristic tamperings with nature would be unthinkable in the first place and would certainly have ill effects. Modern man would probably scoff at this position as superstitious or look down upon it as hysterical. Yet to archaic man, modern man goes about things backwards, depriving himself of nature's inherent guidance and wisdom, which presents itself regularly in dreams, visions, and creative fantasy. In numerous places, Jung discusses our instinctive fear of anything new, whether an invention, an idea, or a new way of doing something. This fear is a survival instinct that functions on behalf of the longevity of the species. Were we to take ourselves as a species more seriously, as Jung recommends, we might have more respect for the widespread apprehension regarding genetic modification or chemical alteration of life processes, for instance. The so-called primitive within us lives much closer to phylogenetic instinct and is thus more inclined to follow nature rather than go against it the way modern man likes to. An understanding of the archaic and modern aspects of the human psyche, as Jung characterizes them, would be extremely useful today. What is needed is to call a halt to the fatal disassociation that exists between our so-called higher and lower being. We must unite the conscious aspect with the primitive. This is Jung's prescription.